Well, isn't it exciting? A sideways Bitcoin market, the most painful market of any investor's life, is a sideways market. You know why? Because a sideways market, you don't know where it's going, you don't know when it's going to stop, you don't know it's going. If it's going up, you can you can get excited a little bit. If it's going down, you can, call some people and panic with your friends and whatever else you need to do. But if it's going sideways, you just you just don't know what the hell's going to happen here, right? And so Bitcoin's been in this sideways range, and I think it will continue in this range until the beginning of May. So subsequently, my $100,000 by May 7th target is extremely unlikely at this point, right? In case you've been wondering, it's extremely unlikely at this point. By the way, I'm getting messages from people saying, "Hey, you're not doing videos anymore, etc., etc." I told everyone, I'm not a YouTuber. I'm not someone who's building a media organization to do videos. I had one specific mission, and that was to get as many people as possible to one Bitcoin. That is the inflection point. And at this point, think about it, right? If you've got, right now Bitcoin's trading at $65,000. How many people have got $65,000 lying around to put into an investment that they don't know anything about, right? It's not that many people. So at this point, and also the market's going sideways. So what is there to talk about here? You should know your mission. If you've been watching what I've been saying, nothing has changed. BlackRock is still educating ultra high net worth people. The flows are still coming in. They're buying up Bitcoin like never before. The halving has happened. What else do you need to hear to get to one Bitcoin? That is the intelligence test. The intelligence test is, do you have what it takes to get to one Bitcoin? One Bitcoin for me is the inflection point for people's lives. So it's one Bitcoin or die trying. It's as simple as that. There is nothing else that you need to hear. In fact, if you need to hear other things, what it tells me is that you don't actually understand the asset that you're dealing with, because Bitcoin never changes, and there's really nothing until we get to that level of, okay, there's some advanced things to think about. And you've got to get to your one Bitcoin before you do that. There's really nothing to discuss until you get to your one Bitcoin. And for everyone else who's at their one Bitcoin, who's been waiting for me to say something or whatever else, look, we're in a market that's going sideways. There is one job here that you and I both have, which is to acquire as much Bitcoin as possible. And that's what I've been focused on. I've been focused on a couple different things going on in my life. And also acquiring more Bitcoin. That's the goal of this entire journey while market is going sideways. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, then you should subscribe to the channel to keep in touch with me when I'm not making videos, right? Because that's the best way to do it. You got to subscribe to the channel, right? Because one day, like I've been saying forever, I'm just going to stop making videos because there's nothing else to say. And at that point, the only way to stay in touch is to subscribe to the channel now, and also look in the description. And if you're above one big, everything I'm saying on YouTube, it's available for everyone until you get to that one Bitcoin goal, which is, I think, what everyone's goal should be. Once you're past that, there might be other exciting things for you to do. And if you want to keep in touch with me once I leave social media, check the description of the video and you'll see a link to join my newsletter. And it's really for people who, are above one Bitcoin. We've got people in there that got 25, 35, 50 Bitcoin each. Even one gentleman sent me a screenshot of his broker account with 400 Bitcoin in it, right? Obviously through the ETF. So that is a community that's building that you want to, if you're in that level, if you've breached that point, then you want to be a part of that, because at some point I may do something, right? At some point I may talk about some of the advanced things I'm doing to generate cash flows. Just placed a $330,000 derivatives position, which I think is going to 10x over this next, over this next 12 to 18 months over here. So, those sorts of things, but they're only available once you get past it. As far as the Bitcoin market itself goes, nothing's changed here. BlackRock is still chewing up as much Bitcoin as they can. Fidelity's out here educating people. BlackRock's out here educating people. They're skipping that, $1 million to $36 million net worth. They're going straight to the ultra high net worth. Your Bitcoin is being sucked up faster than you can imagine. You've got whales buying more Bitcoin than ever. And at this point, your goal should be to acquire as much Bitcoin as possible. We've also got the Hong Kong ETF coming up for trading at the end of this month. And also the Hong Kong market, what's quite interesting to me that I've been thinking about is there is no futures market to short against the Hong Kong long position on the ETF, which is quite intriguing, right? It means that $100 million, net long position could just be a $100 million net long position. Whereas in the US, you might have to do $500 million in net longs in order to make an impact on the net inflow because you've got $400 million worth of shorts going on the other side. So that's a pretty intriguing thing. We'll see how that plays out. But ultimately, Bitcoin's at this price level, and this is the most important period right now for people who are sitting here and who haven't got to one Bitcoin yet, because this has been your opportunity for the last month and a half, whatever it's been. And soon as we go past, like I'm looking at one of my things that I look at on the chart, I believe as soon as we go past $79,000, it is going to absolutely explode, and then it's going to be too late, right? So by the way, my $100,000 by May 7th prediction, I don't think that's gonna happen. I think we need to breach this $79,000 level. Once we breach the $79,000 level, it's going to come rapidly, and I think this could come very shortly after May 7th, but I don't think it's going to be May 7th anymore based on what's happened in the market and how the market's performing. Now, what do I think of the flows that's going on? We're currently dealing with a stock market that's correcting. We're currently dealing with uncertainty politically in the US. There's a lot of stuff going on here, and we've just finished doing tax sales and things like that. So there's a lot of capital sitting there on the sidelines waiting to come in, and that will start coming in the next few months here, right? I think may actually be a little bit more exciting than what most people think. We'll see. But right now, if you're sitting here and if you have not got all 21 million Bitcoin in your wallet, you should be thanking God that the market is going sideways so you can enter the positions that you need to enter. This is a blessing from God that we haven't got now. We haven't, started rocketing towards 100,000 and pricing more people out. You should be thinking about things now, taking this time. I'll tell you one thing. You are not going to learn anything in the bull run, right? Same thing happens with me every bull run that I've ever been a part of. You are not going to learn anything in the bull run. You learn in flat and down markets. That's it. You don't learn in bull runs anything, right? There's nothing to learn. You're just getting excited, and you're jumping up and down, you're playing your favorite music, you're high-fiving your friends that are with you, et cetera, et cetera. So you're not going to learn anything in the bull run. So right now you should be sitting here scheming about the next 5 years of your life. That's what I've been doing. I've been trying to figure out, okay, so which citizenships do I need to acquire? Which residences do I need to acquire? Which work strategically well with where I want to be in the world for the next 5 years? This is what I did in the last bear market. This is what I did in the last bull market. I sat down and thought, okay, so where do I want to spend the bear market years that are going to be coming up? And I chose a couple of places, and I executed on that, and basically got everything set up for that bear market period. And then in the bull run, what I'll do, like I'm in the middle of starting to do that right now, is start moving around, do some analysis, do some research, connect with people, and start moving around and seeing which countries, which places I want to spend the next bear market in, right? So in the last bear market, in fact, the last bull market, what did I do? I traveled around. I was in Miami. I was in the Dominican Republic. I was in Colombia. I was in parts of Europe. I was in Dubai, and I decided on a couple of places that I wanted to spend the bear market, right? And then I executed on that. I decided on exactly what it was going to be, what months they were going to be, and executed on that. The one thing that I didn't do quite well was be very stringent with my time, which allowed me to get a little bit more comfortable. So I've learned that lesson. And in this next upcoming run, what's going to happen is I'm going to spend the next year figuring out where I want to be in the world for the next bear market so that I can build, so that I can connect, because that's when the work happens. The work happens in the bear market. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to figure out where I want to be in the world, why I want to be there, who I want to be there with, and what I want to do with my time. And then I'm going to actually, this time round, at some point next year, as we enter this bull run, I'm going to book all of my travel, all of my accommodation, all of everything for those periods of time, right? And then it's set. I'm done. Everything is orchestrated and focused. And that's really what life is about. It's about making a decision. Those of you that have gotten to one Bitcoin, you made a decision to get to one Bitcoin. I'm going to get to one Bitcoin. I don't care what happens. That is what creates success, right? And for me, my life is, a lot more simpler now than it was maybe when I was, younger and starting out. But it's also a little bit more complicated because you got to think about things like citizenships. You got to think about things like, UK tax law that I need to think about, right? So in the UK, I have to spend less than 45 days in the United Kingdom. And of course, I can't work in the United Kingdom. I can't do any of that because I'm a British passport holder and I have left the UK tax system, right? So I need to think about that. Okay, so when am I going to go see my friends? When am I going to go see my family, et cetera, et cetera? So all of these things need thinking about, and now is the time to start thinking about that. Not when the bull run is going and you're high-fiving people, popping bottles of champagne, or whatever the hell else you're going to be doing, right? Now is the time to start thinking about that. Always start thinking about what's happening next before you need to get there so you can start planning it. And I've got a pretty good plan of what I'm going to do. And ultimately, Bitcoin here needs to get past 79,000 before the excitement can start. But once it gets past 79,000, it's going to be a rapid rise. And so you've had this month and a half, 2 month period, and hopefully you haven't just been watching YouTube videos of people and talking heads like I have been saying forever, like everyone's just reading the fucking news when it comes to Bitcoin. That doesn't matter. This is a monetary network. What does that mean when I say this is a monetary network? It means that money, so I was having this conversation yesterday with a friend, right? Over cigars, and he said, but when are people going to start using it? I said, it's not about the people because it's a monetary network. So money has to use Bitcoin. It's not about the people using Bitcoin. It's about the money using Bitcoin. And so when you think about it like that, I want everyone to start thinking about it like this. The money is adopting Bitcoin, not the people, because people are highly emotional, right? So but money is very rational, which is why even based on the stock to flow ratios, the number one market in the world is real estate. It's got a higher stock to flow ratio, right? Then it's equities, then it's gold. And it's in that order, but nobody knows about that. But it's just human beings have this way of approaching that because money is very, very rational. And Bitcoin is the most rational thing that money can put itself into. So therefore, that's what's going to happen. So, money is now starting to adopt Bitcoin. And if you're sitting there and you are in the market, or you're trying to think about, okay, well, why did I buy a house? The question is, you didn't buy the house. This is my perspective. You didn't buy the house. Your money dictated to you that real estate was the best investment for it, and therefore you bought the house, right? You assisted the money to buy the house. And pretty soon you'll be assisting the money to buy the Bitcoin. And that's the way to think about it. So it's about every dollar, not about every person. And that's why BlackRock is focused on the ultra high net worth individuals, not on the high net worth individuals, because those ultra high net worth individuals, for the first time, everyone always says this, right? But for the first time, the top 1% in America actually own more than the bottom 99%. So therefore, if you are BlackRock and you are a capital allocator, you are a manager of monetary networks, then you want to focus on the people that have access and can allocate and decision make for the most amount of capital, which is why they're focused on them. They're not focused on anyone else. So again, money is now starting to adopt Bitcoin. It's going to happen faster than ever. People think, oh, we got to orange pill the whole world. You don't. You need to orange pill 1% of people. That's it. Because the rest of the people are broke anyway, right? They're living paycheck to paycheck. They don't have any savings to put into Bitcoin. So at some point in the future, they're going to benefit from utilizing Bitcoin and being paid in Bitcoin. But until that point comes, you've got to get the store of value objective of Bitcoin rolling right now, which is what's going on. So just think about it like that. Think about how money is adopting different assets, and think about how money has been incentivized to adopt different assets, and understand that money is now adopting Bitcoin, not the people. But ultimately, there are always only 3 rules to Bitcoin. Step number 1, you buy Bitcoin. Step number 2, shut the fuck up. And step number 3, you get fabulously wealthy.